Because you, with your aggressively anti-common sense agenda and shitty exclusionary attitude, blew it. You lost everything.
As it turns out, I was filthy. I was filthy. And stand on that fact. I have always been filthy. And you knew that
if you
when
thought
you
the
hired
war of
me.
words between Bill Maher and Whoopi Goldberg was over, think again, because this feud just got a fresh injection of gasoline. These two Hollywood heavyweights, who ironically champion the same political tribe, seem to have more beef with each other than with the opposing party. Recently, Whoopi Goldberg unleashed a barrage of not-so-subtle digs at Maher, blindsiding fans and stirring up her loyal woke brigade. But here's the kicker, Maher didn't just clap back. He delivered a verbal smackdown so searing you'd think he was auditioning for a roast special. So what exactly did Whoopi say to poke the bear, and how did Maher's scorched earth comeback leave her and her squad reeling? Stick around, because we've got the lowdown, the drama, and every fiery moment. Warning, you might need a flame retardant suit for this one.
For me, I have a lot of faith in the American people. And I don't know very many men who want to be talked to the way that this man has been talking to men in his audience. I don't know any women, and I know his grandchild was up on the thing, and they're trying to humanize him and change your idea about who this guy is. Don't fall for that.
Trump, he's talking about.
Talking about let's kick things off with a record from Whoopi Goldberg, because nothing says authenticity quite like rewriting history. She boldly claimed on The View that the ladies never told anyone who to vote for. Oh really, Whoopi? That's rich. Thankfully, Joy Behar, in a rare moment of honesty, swooped in to fact-check her co-host faster than you can say fake news. Joy gleefully reminded Whoopi and the audience that they've practically handed out voter cheat sheets on live TV. But here's where it gets interesting. Whoopi is guilty of this, albeit in her own roundabout way. Let's not kid ourselves. When she relentlessly trashed President Trump every other episode, what exactly did she think viewers would do? Hear her rants and suddenly grab mega hats. Come on, Whoopi. You can't spit venom at a candidate and then act surprised when your audience takes the hint. But of course, in true Whoopi fashion, she now pretends none of this ever happened. Why? Well, it's simple. Nothing bruises the woke ego quite like realizing your self-proclaimed influence over the masses is as effective as a screen door on a submarine. Classic woke strategy. Claim to champion freedom of choice while spoon-feeding viewers exactly what you want them to think. It's like Whoopi's running a masterclass on how to conscientiously manipulate voters while pretending you don't. Here's a clip of Whoopi frantically trying to paint Trump as some kind of monster.
Just look in the mirror. No? Well, maybe you should. Sorry. Well, that's my feeling. Losers look in the mirror.
Did you hear that?
You know,
Whoopi's over here claiming that Trump's team is out to humanize him like he's some extraterrestrial beamed down from Mars to crash our democracy. Because obviously, when you're out there painting someone as a fire-breathing monster, the subliminal message is crystal clear. Don't vote for this guy unless you're into intergalactic villains. But sure, Whoopi, let's pretend political campaigns aren't just glorified PR stunts with a side of melodrama. What's next? A debate over whether he's secretly a lizard person. Honestly, the whole thing feels like an episode of The Twilight Zone. But it gets even worse and draws the attention of Bill Maher.
It's the facts. It's just the facts. Trump won all the swings, all 7. I mean, he ran the table. Trump won so big. Today he called the Secretary of State in Georgia and he asked him to lose him 11,000.
On the list is Jay-Z. And honestly, this one hardly comes as a surprise. If there's one name you'd expect to surface after Diddy and 50 Cent's growing lineup of exposed targets, it's Jay, simply because these music, too, have shared decades of intertwined history in the music industry. From collaborations to quiet competition, their relationship has never been straightforward. And now, with the momentum 50 has built from the Sean Combs' The Reckoning docu series, 50 fans are speculating that Jay's own story might, music, finally be next in the spotlight.
That stupid view where you have these really dumb people. You know, Whoopi Goldberg said, would you participate in a movie? She made some movie on basketball. This was before I ran for politics. She said, oh, you're so great. If you ever ran for president, you'd win. This is Whoopi Goldberg. You don't hear that? She said, I'm making a movie. Would you be in it? I said, in what capacity? Just a walk-on. You're so great. Would you do it? I did a walk-on for Whoopi Goldberg. Now she says, I refuse to mention his name. You know what? Politics can do strange things to
Maher doesn't
demented
just counter
people.
Whoopi's arguments. He subliminally obliterates them, taking a verbal flamethrower to her and the woke mob's favorite pastime, the blame game. His message: stop pointing fingers at everyone else for your election failures and maybe, just maybe, try some good old-fashioned self-reflection. Shocking concept, isn't it? But no, introspection isn't exactly the woke mob's strong suit. They'd rather write a 12-part Twitter thread about systemic oppression than admit their ideas might have flopped harder than a Netflix adaptation of a fanfic. And Maher doesn't stop there. He hilariously yet scathingly points out that it wasn't circumstances or some dark conspiracy that tanked Kamala Harris. It was the woke mob's own exhausting ideologies and self-defeating policies. Think about it. Harris was marketed as the woke dream candidate, ticking all the progressive boxes. But instead of inspiring unity, their policies alienated just about everyone who wasn't already drinking the Kool-Aid. Maher argues that when your platform is built on calling half the country irredeemable bigots while pushing unrealistic social experiments, it doesn't exactly scream vote for us. And the cherry on top, the woke mob's habit of treating every critique like a hate crime only further cemented their defeat. So, as Maher puts it, maybe it's time for the Whoopies of the world to swap the finger-pointing for some mirror-gazing. But knowing the mob, they'll probably just blame the mirror for being oppressive. Classic.
It turns out I was filthy. I was filthy. And stand on that fact. I have always.
Maher doesn't just pour salt into the wound. He dumps an entire shaker on it and then adds a dash of lemon for good measure. He gleefully mocks Whoopi Goldberg and her beloved woke mob, turning their post-election meltdown into a comedy special. According to Maher, Trump's colossal 2024 victory didn't just leave the Democrats reeling. It left them flailing in the mud like they just lost a pie-eating contest at a county fair. And who could blame them? After all, it's not every day you see a party with Hollywood backing, the media on speed dial, and an army of hashtags get steamrolled by a guy who eats McDonald's for breakfast. But Maher's not done yet. He takes a jab at how the Democrats' obsession with wokeness likely played a starring role in their defeat. He quips that running a campaign on banning plastic straws and renaming elementary schools after obscure activists wasn't exactly the kitchen table politics voters were craving. And don't forget the endless lectures about privilege and pronouns, because if there's one surefire way to win over middle America, it's wagging your finger at them for not being enlightened enough. Maher even jokes that the Democrats' reaction to the loss is so predictable you could set your watch to it. First, they'll blame voter suppression, then Russia, then climate change, and finally the patriarchy. Meanwhile, Whoopi's on The View trying to convince everyone that this isn't a loss, it's a lesson. Maher's response: sure, Whoopi, and the Titanic was just an impromptu swimming lesson.
And you knew that when you hired me. A headline, babe, at your casino, which I might have continued to play had you not run it into the ground.
Exactly.
But
It does that.
you know, listen, how dumb are you? You hired me 4 times. You can go to William Morris and get the things, because I know you all are going to be looking for it. So talk to William Morris. You hired me 4 times, and you didn't know what you were getting? How
Trump didn't
dumb
leave the
are
fight
you?
solely to Bill Maher. Oh no, he dove headfirst into the fray, tossing out insults like confetti at a rally. He called Whoopi and the co-hosts of The View dumb for their hot takes on his political ambitions and campaign. But Trump didn't stop there. He went straight for the jugular, reminding Whoopi that she was once his employee, and, wait for it, a bad one at that. Hold up, what? Whoopi worked for Trump, the same guy she's been dragging for years, and now she's pretending she doesn't even know him? That's not just selective memory. That's a masterclass in woke 101. Trump, of course, delivered this revelation with his signature flair, likely leaving the View panel scrambling to spin it as a misunderstanding. Meanwhile, Maher is probably somewhere laughing his head off, knowing that Whoopi's "I've never met him" act just blew up faster than a Twitter fact check. Classic woke playbook. Rewrite history and hope no one notices. Too bad Trump's got receipts. But here's where it gets really juicy. Back in 1996, Whoopi Goldberg begged Trump to appear in her movie Eddie. Yes, begged. She was so desperate for his star power that she pleaded for even a cameo appearance. Trump, ever the reluctant Hollywood savior, initially hesitated but eventually obliged. And here's the kicker. Trump claims that during their chats, Whoopi told him he should run for president because he'd be great. Fast forward to now, and suddenly she's acting like he's the villain from a low-budget horror movie, claiming he's one of the worst people she's ever met and refusing to even utter his name. Oh, the irony. 1 minute she's buttering him up, the next she's pretending their interactions never happened. Classic Whoopi, and classic Hollywood for that matter. Trump, of course, didn't let this contradiction slide, gleefully recounting the story and pointing out her sudden amnesia. It's like the plot twist no one saw coming. Whoopi, the original Trump fan, now rewriting history like she's in charge of her own PR reboot. Hollywood hypocrisy. Folks, it never disappoints. But if you know Whoopi well, you know she'll definitely stage a comeback. And she did. But surprisingly, she agreed with most of the things that Trump said, especially the part about being filthy. As it turns out, I was filthy.
Now, we have to do one of the things that we do really well here, and that is correct dangerous misinformation
Now
that
that's
he
interesting.
is spreading.
Whoop admitting to using filthy language and dirty jokes in her set. Well, that takes some nerve. Even we didn't see that coming, especially since the woke mob can't take criticism without staging a full-on meltdown, let alone own up to their mistakes. But here's the twist. Whoopi actually agreed with her sworn enemy Trump that he was telling the truth. Yes, you heard that right. Whoopi, in a rare moment of honesty, acknowledged that Trump wasn't wrong. This is practically a plot twist in a bad sitcom. The woman who spent years throwing shade at Trump's political takes is now sitting there admitting, like she's suddenly an expert on truth. Next, she'll admit that The View is just an elaborate social experiment. I mean, really, who knew that the woke queen herself would one day turn into a walking, talking contradiction? But let's give credit where it's due. At least Whoopi had the guts to drop the pretense, even if it's just for a brief, fleeting moment. It's like watching a villain turn into a reluctant hero, except, you know, without any actual redemption. But knowing Whoopi, we suspected all that was a facade and were proven right.
And yes, you are a complete stupid idiot. My God, she is so stupid. This is the same lady who thinks everything is racist. Everything and everyone is racist, except Hitler and the Holocaust. Genius, Whoopi Goldberg.
Just can't help herself. Can she? Even in a rare moment of honesty, she manages to lob a few grenades at Trump. After admitting that he hired her not once but 4 times, she then turns around and calls him dumb for doing so. Her reasoning: he knew she was filthy and still kept her on the payroll. Oh, the horror. What Whoopi conveniently glosses over is that Trump might have been giving her multiple chances to clean up her act, not that she seemed particularly interested. But hey, in her world, giving someone opportunities to redeem themselves makes you dumb. Sure, Whoopi makes total sense. Here's the icing on the cake. The man who took a chance on her when no one else would is now the target of her jabs. Talk about biting the hand that once fed you, but that's woke logic in action. Twist gratitude into criticism, ignore context, and somehow come out looking like the victim. Whoopi calling Trump dumb for giving her a shot is like someone blaming their gym trainer for their refusal to show up. It's laughable. If second chances make Trump dumb, then Whoopi's made a career out of proving him right. Classic.
Made a case for people who are vaccinated, boosted, and have been following the rules since all of this started. And I think he's forgetting that people are still at risk who cannot get vaccinated. People who can't get that. Little kids under the age of 5.
Yeah.
Or people with health conditions. How
Wait,
dare you be so
what?
flippant, man?
Did Whoopi just bring up dangerous misinformation? Oh, the irony. It's almost too rich to handle. Let's not forget the countless times she's been forced to awkwardly read a legal note on The View after peddling some eyebrow-raising faucets. Remember the infamous Holocaust fiasco? Whoopi boldly claimed that the Holocaust wasn't racially motivated but was simply man's inhumanity to man. The backlash was swift, and the apology, let's just say it was about as genuine as a reality TV storyline. And that wasn't her only blunder. Whoopi also found herself backpedaling after spreading misinformation about Kyle Rittenhouse, doubling down on her claims even after legal proceedings proved otherwise. But sure, Whoopi, please lecture us on the dangers of misinformation while standing atop your mountain of foot-in-mouth moments. It's almost as if she's running a masterclass on how not to stick to the facts. Maybe she should leave the lectures to someone with a better track record, or at least someone who doesn't have a legal note on speed dial. No wonder Ben Shapiro and others like him have a deep disdain for Whoopi and The View, harboring some pretty strong reservations about the entire circus.
Attacks me on a regular basis. She says stupid shit on a regular basis. They just happen to coincide. But can I just say this? I had on last week Ira Glasser, former longtime head of the ACLU, talking about free speech. Whoopi Goldberg, who, by the way, I hope is still a friend, we can disagree with each other, should not be canceled or put off her show, as much as I totally disagree with her crazy statement. Free speech. She should be there.
Ben Shapiro, take a deep breath. You're going to give yourself an embolism if you keep taking everything the woke mob says and does so personally. Look, we get it. You're Jewish, and Whoopi's comments about the Holocaust must have felt like a personal attack wrapped in a burrito of ignorance. But let's be honest, Whoopi and her crew on The View are a special breed, a nutcase of the highest order. Trying to make sense of their takes is like trying to teach calculus to a goldfish. It's just not going to happen. That said, Shapiro isn't wrong. People who churn out the kind of absurd, head-scratching statements we've come to expect from Whoopi and her gang can only be described as, what's the word? Oh right, nuts. It's almost like they hold weekly brainstorming sessions to come up with the most bizarre hot takes imaginable. Maybe Shapiro just needs to see it for what it is. The View isn't a serious discussion panel. It's an unintentional comedy show where the punchlines are Whoopi's facts. So, Ben, relax, grab some popcorn, and enjoy the chaos. After all, laughing at their lunacy is far better for your health than letting it raise your blood pressure. You'll remember when she was forced off The View because she attacked Bill Maher.
Black people can't afford to indulge rich white people's need to endlessly flagellate themselves. They just want prices to go down and good jobs and the police when you call them.
Well, if he's right, then why didn't people vote for the former prosecutor who actually had policy plans to help
Mayor's crime?
The working class?
Oh, nothing too outrageous. Just daring to suggest that we might want to return to normality after the COVID pandemic. The audacity, right? He simply explained that we can't let the pandemic permanently hold us hostage and that at some point we need to dust ourselves off and move on with our lives. Apparently, this common-sense notion was enough to send the woke mob into a full-blown meltdown. How dare he encourage people to stop living in fear and actually, live. But let's be honest, in today's climate, calling for rationality is practically a revolutionary act. Maher wasn't suggesting we throw caution to the wind and start hosting mask-burning parties. He was just pointing out that life shouldn't be defined by endless doom-scrolling and government mandates. Yet, for the mob, even hinting at moving on is heresy. Because why embrace normality when you can wallow in a perpetual state of panic, right? Classic woke overreaction. Take a logical argument, twist it into something sinister, and then pile on with outrage like it's the latest TikTok trend. Maher's biggest defense: being the adult in the room when everyone else insists on playing hall monitor. Interestingly, just weeks after that fiasco, Whoopi found herself suspended from The View for a completely unrelated incident. Naturally, Maher's supporters didn't miss a beat, gleefully calling it.
Because you, with your aggressively anti-common sense agenda and shitty exclusionary attitude, blew it. You lost everything. House, Senate, White House, Supreme Court, and left us completely unprotected
Maher,
and ready to
ever
be
the voice
violated.
of reason, gracefully pointed out that what happened to Whoopi wasn't karma, it was the result of her own actions. And while the mob was busy popping champagne, Maher stood firm in his principles, stating he didn't support her cancellation because he's a staunch believer in free speech. Yes, free speech for everyone, even for someone like Whoopi, who's thrown him under the bus more times than we can count.
Define wokeness, because I hear people use the term all the time and it means something different to everybody.
Well, again, I think it's this collection of ideas that are not building on liberalism, but very often undoing it. I mean, 5 years ago, Abraham Lincoln was not a controversial figure among liberals. We liked him. Now they take his name off schools and tear down his statues. Really? Lincoln isn't good enough for you? 5, 10 years ago, bedrock liberalism was we are striving to be a colorblind society where we don't see race. Of course, we see it, but it doesn't matter. That's not what woke is. Woke is something very different. It's identity. We see it all the time. It's always the most important thing. I don't think that's liberalism. I mean, I could mention so many issues like.
Unlike Whoopi and her woke disciples, whose loyalty and principles seem to shift faster than the trending tab on Twitter, Maher doesn't bend to the winds of convenience. He doesn't cheer for the silencing of someone just because he disagrees with them. Meanwhile, the mob's version of principles is more like a weather vane, spinning whichever way best suits their narrative. Maher, he's the rare adult in the room. Whoopi? Well, let's just say the wind's blowing again. However, Whoopi wasn't about to go down without a fight, or in true dramatic fashion, without a monologue. And as for Bill Maher's olive branch, she wouldn't just refuse it. She'd light it on fire and use the ashes for her next rant. Whoopi seemed determined to get her pound of flesh, and nothing, not even Maher's unexpected show of mercy, was going to stop her. Because why accept the truce when you can keep the feud alive for ratings, right? Whoopi's stance was clear. Forgiveness is overrated, especially when there's drama to be milked. While Maher played the cool, level-headed adult, Whoopi clung to her grudge like it was the last lifeboat on the Titanic. Say what you will, but her dedication to holding a grudge is almost admirable. Well, as long as you don't expect her to be rational about it anytime soon.